Hi everyone, today I'm going to be doing a review on 3 of my go-to fine liner pens. I'm going to be talking about the Faber Castell Pitt pens, the Micron pens, which are very common, and the Pilot DR pens. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start by talking about what I use my fine liner pens for. Just so that we have a starting point of why I prefer one over the other. In general, I've used a lot of different fine liner pens, but I sort of narrowed it down to these 3 that are my go-to pens. So I do a lot of ink illustrations. I'm going to show you a couple of them here. These are done with the DR pen, and I will go over the pros and cons of all of this in a bit, but I just want to show you how I use them. So a lot of really fine detailing, a lot of little pointillism and etc. So I do need a varied pen point, some Zentangle work, again more fine line details. The other use is for watercolor illustrations. So again, this is just my sketchbook. So when I'm sketching things out, I like to be quick with it, and I put the water on it very quickly. So I do need it to be water resistant or waterproof, and I'll go over the difference between that. And let's move over to another use I have for my fine liner pens is for my acrylic work. So as you can see by this, I drew in a lot of the flowers with a pen, and then I used acrylic paint over it, or vice versa. So painted and then used the pens over it. Even in this piece here, in her hair, you'll notice that all of it has been with a fine liner pen. Okay, so I'll start off with the price point of all of these. Now I picked up most of them at Sears, which is a Canadian art supply store. And so the prices that I give you will be in Canadian dollars. The DR Pilot pen set I bought as a set of 5, and they retail for $17.49, which is about roughly $3.50 per pen. Sears, of course, has loads of sales, so definitely look out for when they have one of them. I think I purchased this on sale for about $10 or $11, so it was a pretty good deal. The Faber Castell Pitt pens, they come in a pack of 4. I know there's 5 here, but I went out and purchased a separate one because I actually really like these ones. But for the set of 4, it is $11.99, which works out to be $2.99 per pen. And for the Sakura Pigma Microns, I bought these individually. They don't sell them in a pack. And I think they were, yes, they're $2.99 for each pen, so the same price as the Faber Castell ones. These 2 ended up being cheaper per pen than the DR Pilot ones. Okay, so I'm going to go through all of the pens individually and let you know what some of the pros and the cons are to it. Starting off with the DR Pilot pen, you can buy these individually. I think the pack is a great variety pack. The sizes range from 01, 02, 03, 05, and 08. So I think it's a great range for what you're getting in the pack. I have my sketchbook out again to show you the variety of line widths that you can get with it. So with the Zentangle, with some of my other illustrations, you can get a really, really fine line. It's excellent for it. And you can also get the wider lines going here too on the outside. I think for the price point of it, it's a little bit on the higher side, and there are better options. But if this is something that's accessible to you, I think it's a great option. My cons with it are it's water resistant and not waterproof. Now, the difference between resistance and waterproof is you'll have an issue with some of the water smearing and smudging at some point, but with waterproof pens like the Micron and the Faber Castell, you won't have any smudging at all or smearing at all with water. So that's an issue if you are going to be using it with watercolor or acrylic paints or anything like that. It is water resistant, not waterproof. The other con that I have with it is the light fastness. Now it says it has a pretty good light fast ratio, but some of these illustrations are pretty old, and they have started to fade already. I can see that they're not as dark as they started off. They're on a grayer tone. I know that these pens usually are also a little bit transparent with the ink, so when I am doing illustrations, I have to go over it a few times versus the other pens that have a really good dark pigment. This is a little bit on the more transparent side. However, it still also does fade over time. I'm not sure if you can tell with the lighting on this illustration, but the blacks are just not as strong as they started off to be. So that's another issue with the pen. As for the barrel, I think it's a good design. It's very light. It's the lightest out of the three. And for me, it's the most comfortable gripped out of the three. I do prefer holding this barrel a lot better than the other ones, especially when you are doing so many fine little details holding this pen for such a long period of time. This is the most comfortable pen for me. So moving on to the Faber Castell Pitt pens. I was surprised at how well these pens performed because they are more of a crafter's pen. I hadn't heard a whole bunch about it in comparison to the Microns and the DR pens, but they performed really well. They are once again a pigment ink, just like the other two pens. It says on the barrel that they're India ink. That's one of the biggest things that they use in their marketing, and it's waterproof and maximum light fastness. I absolutely agree with everything that's written on this pen. I know a lot of times they do write these things on the pens and it's definitely not true, but with this one, it is a great black ink. It works on different mediums really, really well. It's my go-to pen on mixed media. It works really well on my wood surfaces, which are a little bit bumpier, but the nib is really, really sturdy and strong, and I don't have any issues with it fraying or breaking like the other pens sometimes do. It is absolutely waterproof. Again, I've used it on a few different mixed media pieces and added water to it. These are gelatos, and you know, I just wetted it down and I was still able to use the pen, and it didn't smear any of the ink at all. And for light fastness, well, I can't say yet because I have only been using it for about a year or so. So I mean, the ink seems pretty bright and black and vivid for now. So, I mean, I'm hoping the light fastness part is absolutely true. In terms of price point, again, it was a great price point, great value. I think they perform extremely well. No smears, no feathering, it doesn't bleed through the paper. And again, the darkness and the pigmentation of the ink is excellent. The barrel also is very comfortable. It has a longer barrel. It's a medium weight amongst the three, but it's still a very comfortable pen to use. The variety of nibs that they don't have a huge variety. It's a little bit limited in the amount of nibs that they have, but I mean, the ones that I do have over here are pretty good, and they work for me. And lastly, the Sakura Pigma Micron pen. It's probably the most popular pen that illustrators and artists use. You probably have seen lots of reviews on it, and it's very easily available in many art supply stores. It is a pigment pen, so the black ink again is very nice and dark. It is waterproof and fade proof, and that's definitely true. I use it on multi-surfaces, on wood, canvas, my mixed media projects. It's very versatile. The nibs are a great variety. There's a whole bunch of different line levels that you can get for these pens. The barrel is a little bit on the heavier side in comparison to the others. For comfort in holding, it's not on the highest of my list versus the DR, which is a lot more comfortable, but it's still a great pen. I mean, it's not extremely uncomfortable for me. I have no issues with smearing, feathering. It does not bleed through the paper. It's a great price point too. It's not really that expensive, especially again if you are looking for sales and you find these on sale. I usually pick up a whole bunch and keep them on hand, on stock. For fading, in comparison to the DR Pilot, I haven't found it fade. I've been using it for quite a long period of time. All my illustrations look perfectly fine, so I haven't had any issues with that whatsoever. So amongst all of the pens that I used, I picked these three because they're the ones that I commonly go to. They are definitely my top three fave pens to use. The DR pen is my go-to sketchbook pen for doodling, for any quick work that I need to do, and then for some of my illustrations also when I want to get some good details in there. The Faber Castell pen is my go-to for mixed media projects, but because of the limitation in the line width, I tend to lean towards the Sakura pens. The Micron pens are definitely on the top of the three pens as my favorite. It's the most versatile line width that I get, and the pigmentation is great. The weight of the pen is great. There's no smearing, no smudging, no feathering. It's just an all-around great pen. And that's it for my review of my three favorite fine liners. You can find a detailed written review on my website blog. The comment will be below. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll be happy to answer. Thanks for watching.